Righty. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome to Morning Journal session 186. Tomorrow we killers. When we hit that 187, it's symbolic. But it's session number 186 of the Morning Journal. I am your host, G. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. We're going to get ready to start our session. I guess if we're going to have a theme for today's session, it is In the Direction of Becoming. That's sort of the title that I gave it. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but we're going to start it that way. Rachel is in the building. What's happening, Rachel? It's been a minute since I've seen you. It's so great to have you here. Yeah. So why don't we do a quick check-in and let's find out how everybody is doing this morning. We're going to just do a real quick, I got to make sure y'all good. So we're going to find the background for that. And we're going to bring the conversation as much as possible. We're going to try to come into, bring our awareness to the present state. So we'll start with right now I notice. So just kind of look around you, check in with yourself. We don't have to judge it one way or another. We don't have to express gratitude for it or anything like that. We just want to notice. So we're going to bring, you can just put it straight in the chat because that's kind of how we get down right now. So you don't have to worry about the request box. And the good thing about that is you can answer as many times as you like. If you want to make sure I can see your responses, if you're over on Spoon, make sure you put a little green check beside it or something like that so I can see what's going on. Warrior, thank you so much for the like. Rachel says, I noticed everyone here and I missed all of you. Well, Rachel, we've missed you too. Always enjoy your insights and your perspective on things. Always such positive energy and humor. So glad to have you back in for however long you can stay. So Kalina says, I noticed me having Omicron. I noticed I feel so terrible. I noticed y'all and I missed y'all all weekend. Yeah, that's rough, Kalina. I know it's, hopefully you get to feeling better soon. Make sure you stay hydrated and kind of keep it to yourself, I guess. I'm not even sure what the best way to ride that particular storm out. What is the best way to ride that storm out? But we're certainly wishing you health. So the question or the prompt as we check in for this session is right now I notice. So if you're watching over on YouTube or Twitch or wherever you are, just drop it in the chat. Let me know, what do you notice? So right now I noticed that I am still fiddling. I noticed me fiddling around, trying to make sense of everything. Alexa says, I notice all the fruits and vegetables I'm giving Harley for brekkie. What up, Harley? Getting that breakfast, fruits and veggies, that's what we all should be eating. Either that or some sausage and eggs or something, I don't know. Warrior says, I notice I'm tired, so I'm going to sleep. That's what's up. I know you worked this weekend, so we can just kind of be the backdrop to your experience. Berlin is noticing that he wants to rant and also probably noticing that this is probably not the time. Oh, man. Berlin is quiet because he's got something he wants to rant about, but he's respecting the space. So Noble Ancient says, right now I notice Alexis is getting brekkie for Harley. Set up in the kitchen. All right. I noticed a couple friends maybe so I was on the stream on Twitch earlier, and it was pretty cool. It was a writing stream. It just so happened that I was up and I said, well, let me see who's live. Maybe I can have some something playing in the background while I set up. So there are a couple of folks over on Twitch early this morning. Appreciate y'all for listening in. And please feel free to jump into the conversation. We got Wham says, in case you haven't noticed, in case nobody told you already, I'm here to tell y'all that you are beautiful and important. Wham listening in over on YouTube. It's always great to see you, Wham. Sean says, I just mowed down a turkey and Swiss sandwich on a bagel with some cream cheese and a little bit of mayo. All right. So Harley notices the nanners in her bowl this morning. Not the nanners. What's better than nanners in the morning? Rachel noticed that I'm a little bit spunky this morning. Well, I'm just, I mean, I got some energy, but really it's kind of like nerves a little bit, you know? Rachel Wham says hi from over in YouTube land. How is the weather, G? It's cold. We had a little bit of falling frozen precipitation yesterday. But nothing too bad. It turned over to rain. I haven't been outside this morning. So condolences. I noticed that Rachel said you had a death in the family. So you're dealing with that grief. So we definitely send condolences to you and the family. Leo has joined us. Welcome in, Leo. Thanks for joining us. All right, virtual hugs in the chat. So my cousin got some fist up in the chat, ready to check in, listen in. I appreciate you. Divine Nesquick is here. The gang is here, folks. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to the second of our check-in prompts if y'all about that. Let me see if I can figure it out. We are checked in. We're talking about what we noticed. Now let's look back at the weekend. The question is, what was the best part? What was the best part of the weekend? And being that I know a few things about a few people in the chat. I'm not gonna name no names, but I would say that probably what was not the best part of the weekend was Dak Prescott trying to scramble with 10 seconds left on the clock and spike the ball to stop the clock. Like, that wasn't the best part. But, yo, it is what it is, yo. So, let me know. The best part of your weekend, Alexis says it was playing Battleship on Steam with Noble. Playing Battleship. Or did you mean on stream? Or did I say that right? No Love is here. Welcome in. Welcome in, No Love. Kalina says, my friend gave me $20 to help me get a new clock from Amazon, and then sleeping 26 hours over the course of 2 days. Well, that's what's up. So you did mean Steam. All right. I know I'm the king of butchering what you write, so I just wanted to make sure. So you playing Battleship on Steam. That's what's up. So Leo found out that he had some strep. Got strep throat. So Battleship on Steam is cool. There's some special moves added. Very cool. So Berlin says, I think I actually found someone I might actually like. All right. Hey now. Enter a Nickname is here. Welcome in. Right now, we're just trying to look back and say what the best part of our weekend was. I think it's important, sometimes we hate when Monday rolls around, when we transition from like relaxation to re-engagement. So we want to try to make sure when we do have some downtime that we can fill it with things that we enjoy. And, sharing that with each other is a good way to start the day. So for Warrior, surprise party held by the department, and the audience was all the kids that I've helped in my 6 years. And they wanted to say thanks. So it's so awesome to get validation and recognition from people that you supported. Sometimes you do things and you think it goes unnoticed. So it's awesome to have an opportunity to, I don't know if you're the type of person that can accept. Some people find it hard to accept thanks and congratulations. But I'm glad that you had that experience. Noble says, for me, feeling better as the weekend went on was the best part for you in playing Battleship. Eso said, my first day back to school on Saturday. So you forgot that there even was a weekend. Berlin said it, went ahead and pulled up, summoned the courage to pull up and say something. Why don't we do that? Let's make that your task for the week. Nesquik says, the best part of the weekend was probably playing Apex with old friends. Kalina says, my boyfriend and I choosing a house for after I graduate in South Dakota. Hopefully that house is still there. Berlin says, yo, I got editing to do. That girl can wait. I ain't got time to play no games. Berlin, you don't want to, I understand you got to stay focused on your grind, but, you don't want to have this, you got to have some balance in your life. Rachel says, what'd you say before I left? I don't know, Rachel. I've been talking this whole time. I don't know what I said. How am I supposed to know? Berlin says, I believe if you are on your purpose, the women will come. Berlin says, yo, if I get myself together, I'm not even gonna have to worry about it. Berlin says, I'm gonna be beating them off with a stick. Oh. Let me get this, let me get myself together. All right. We are going to get ready. To get into the next part of the conversation. Thanks everyone for popping in, hanging out. And, I got my new gear on over on YouTube. I got a little bit of a situation going on with my branding and stuff, trying to step my game up, look like something, sound like something. So when people come through, like, all right, this looks like a professional operation. Let me see what's going on here. All right. Kalina says, I love everyone here. Y'all make me laugh when I'm going through some bad things. Enter a Nickname says, finally figuring out how to draw in augmented reality, then transfer the work onto a PC. Well, I know somebody else is working with augmented reality up in here. We got some creative and savvy folks. You see the look on the profile pic. You can see the upcycled pants that SO is working with there. That upcycled skirt. Yo, SO, that's dope. I'm showing everybody that. Yo, that's everybody click on SOK's shirt profile pic. That's awesome. Hey, Abby, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. So it's about that time. It's about that time. So we're going to get ready to, now that we checked in, we're going to get ready to sort of the meat of our conversation today. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, we were working with the sort of the prompt or the theme of In the Direction of Becoming. That was the title that I came up for this session. Okay. Berlin says, I can barely hear you. It's because I'm around a lot of people. Is anyone else having problems hearing me? Let me know. I can give it some juice. Okay, good. Okay, so today, In the Direction of Becoming, I think sort of the overarching theme of the prompts that we're going to be working with today is starting by appreciating some things about ourselves and looking at, there's a big push towards improving. Like everybody wants to think about the ways that you can get better. And I would say that you got to start with appreciating where you are and not necessarily tying so much of your value in what it is that you are trying to do. Like you have an inherent value. So starting from that place, then you can choose. It's not like your identity and your worth as a person is depending on you getting better. Like you can appreciate where you are right now. There's some inherent value there. And coming from that place, I think is a more healthy way to start building and intentionally becoming more of the person that we can be. So that is sort of the theme of the questions that we're going to be working with this morning. And so let me get ready to pull the first of those up. If you bear with me 1 second while I change the background and get into the first of our prompts. All right. All right, here we go. We're going to get into this one. All right, this prompt. What have you grown to appreciate about yourself? What is something that you have grown to appreciate about yourself? I think that when we start out, a lot of times we are critical, very self-critical, or maybe we were picked on about something when we were little, and now we are self-conscious about that. There are all these parts of ourselves that you're like, I wish it was a different way. But over time, you have grown to appreciate, well, this is just kind of a part of who I am. This is what makes me special. So I'm going to embrace that. Now, it could be the case, I'll say, it could be the case that you don't necessarily, nothing comes to mind right away in terms of things that you have learned to appreciate about yourself. And if that's the case, let's start thinking about some stuff right now. Let's start thinking about some things that we can embrace about ourselves that perhaps we've been sort of, hating on ourselves for. So let's go. Noble Ancient is starting off the conversation. Everything I've ever learned on my own, not what I am told by others that think they know me. I appreciate everything that I learned on my own, not what I'm told by others that think that they know me. So Alexis says, I've grown to appreciate my uniqueness and creativity. Uniqueness and creativity. Think about the ways that that uniqueness expresses itself and be specific. Like, say what it is. Because I think when we are specific about it, we can truly start to embrace it and own it. What are the ways that your creativity shows up? Rachel says, I've grown to appreciate my loving nature. When I spread love, it can heal people, and that heals me as well. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to show up as a loving person. It's a vulnerable thing to show up as a loving person because it can make you susceptible to people who would, who may not necessarily have your best interest at heart. So it takes courage to show up with love and faith to realize that that's also a part of your healing. So I love that. So Kalina says, I've grown to appreciate my love life. Oh, all right. Hey now. Nice little holding hands and those moments of young love and affection. Grown to appreciate that. Nesquik says, ooh, my hair. I've spent years having people around me tell me to cut it, but now I sit on it. They be like, your hair just way too long. You need to cut it. All right. Pandora is here. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here, Pandora. Cut it. Cut it. Rachel got it. All right. So for Alexis, that creativity that Alexis was talking about, it expresses in writing, wicked imagination, and how I think and process my reality. That is the way that it shows up. Warrior, you've grown to appreciate your eyes. You got bullied about many things, was called garbage kid due to the being in the system. But, here you are, and you are definitely beautiful and valued by us. All right, enter a nickname says, I've grown to like my random and divergent way to be up all night and buy up all the right M&M. Okay, let me say it again. I've grown to like my random and divergent way to buy up all the M&M combinations. Abby says, I know it might sound conceited, but I've grown to appreciate the way I look within the last week and a half. Just like you're coming back into your you coming into your situation right now, huh? You looked at, you caught a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and you're like, uh-oh, check me out. Watch out now. Yeah, and then you walk outside and you let them have it, huh? Well, that's what's up. I think when that gives you a lot of confidence in the way that you move around in the world. So it's not conceited. So Sean says, I've grown to appreciate more what used to make me happy and then have been venturing back there. So the things that you left behind, the way that you've shown up and like the things that you've done before that maybe you got too busy for, got too grown for, life got in the way, kind of appreciating something about the person that you were and bringing some more of that into your experience. For sure. So Abby says that I have body dysmorphia, so I really don't see what everybody else sees. And it's nice when you do. Yeah. So, good morning and welcome, aloha, to Tree is over on YouTube. Good to see you here this morning, Tree. Let us know, what have you grown to appreciate about yourself? right. So Kalina says, you've grown to appreciate your beautiful eye color, very rare golden eye color. So we all have things that some of the things, it's almost like a superpower, right? Some of the things that we notice and appreciate about each other, we appreciate about ourselves. We used to hate before, and they end up being our superpower in the future. So Berlin says, your honesty and assertiveness is something that you've grown to appreciate about yourself. So we all have these traits, and sometimes it's a mixed bag. For Tree, it's like maybe your patience is something that you've grown to appreciate. Esso says, I've grown to appreciate my quirkiness and dedication. My humble being. People are rude about it to me, but I still stay humble, Kalina says. Yeah, I think that the more we can own, the more we can own of who we are, the firmer the ground is that we can stand on to become even a more expansive self, even more of what we can potentially become. But the ground that we stand on is one of appreciation and acceptance, of where we are right now. We don't have to play games and pretend, act like we have it all together. So, yeah, absolutely knowing who you are is a great thing. Tree also is a fan, becoming an increasing fan of her awkwardness. Yeah. I don't know, awkwardness is kind of endearing, I think. It just feels, I think it's pretty endearing, because anytime that you can notice someone's awkwardness is also a sign that they are exercising some courage in an interaction that might not necessarily feel comfortable for them. Kaloli is here. Welcome in, Kaloli. Thank you so much for joining us for this session. Let us know what it is that you appreciate about yourself. That is the vibe we are on right now. Noah says, I'm an entertainer and a solid gamer. So let me find Rachel's. So just as a update, I know a lot of people have been here, and you notice that there isn't a request box, and I know a lot of people miss the request box. So to make it easier for me to see things that are directly in response to the prompt, just drop a little check mark beside it, or any emoji beside it, really, so it can stand out from the rest of the prompt. Yeah, the request box is gone just because of it allows me to stream with the same quality and the same audio on all the places. So that was the trade-off that I, was willing to make for the sake of the growth of the community beyond what's just happening here, because it's growing, and I love that. I'll just say, while you're still working on that, it's growing in ways like, you're talking about podcasts like everywhere. We're going to start putting these on Spotify and Apple Podcast and all that on a replay tip. So I had to get my stuff together, you dig? And try to make sure that the experience still works. Tree's like, I got to go hop on Spoon. I got to see my people. Thanks for joining us, Tree. Steve is here. Welcome in, Steve. We're talking about the things that we've grown to appreciate. I think a lot of times when we're young, we haven't fully grown into ourselves. In a way, it's like maybe your head is just too big when you're little, and everything is out of proportion. I mean, it's like that sometimes, and then you grow into it, you fill out, and then your head start matching your body, and like, oh, okay, I just had this nose since I was 5, and it was too big. So Abby says, yeah, I'm proud of you. It must be exciting to expand where people can find you more easily. Yeah. More people can listen. And it's already the case that more people hear this experience outside of Spoon than they do on Spoon. So, here we go. We got Pip in the house. Steve and Tree, thank you so much for the like. I appreciate y'all. Great to see you again this morning, Pip. All right. So I think we might be about ready for the next prompt. Y'all let me know. And if you just came in, also just drop in the chat and let me know how your weekend went in case you missed. In case you missed the first prompt, we started by kind of checking in about the weekend. So if you want to say something about that. All right, here we go. Let's do it. Next prompt. So Tree went to a wine tasting that you couldn't handle. Don't let me find out that you a lightweight. You're not a lightweight. I know that you can. I'm not. Let me say it this way. How can I say this without sounding too familiar? From everything that I've experienced, you're not one who has a problem with with enjoying the occasional adult beverage without catastrophic consequences. So was it just too much of a good thing? Was that the deal? Wine tastings are a unique experience. All right, here we are. So we began the conversation with, kind of thinking about what it is that we are outgrowing. And everybody's kind of growing on at a different pace. Maybe there's something change doesn't happen overnight, right? Maybe there's an aspiration that you have, like, well, it's time for me to start. Maybe leaving some things behind. So what are you in the process of outgrowing is the question. Camila is here. Welcome in. Kalina says, my dolls. But it just means that I'm, getting more mature. You can still keep them, but maybe you don't, maybe you just don't play with them the same. Now, maybe they just sit as a reminder. Rachel says, I don't drink actually. And Berlin is like, oh, how you gonna not live without liquids? Okay. Let's see what it is that we are outgrowing. So over on YouTube, Wham says, I left Spoon. I guess I've outgrown that experience. So Nesquik says, you've outgrown second guessing your art. You just got to keep pushing forward. So you were trying to outgrow some of that self-doubt, outgrow that critic. Noble says, I've outgrown being told details that don't fit me at all. I know who I am, so I learn solely on my own. So I've outgrown being under the influence of other people's opinions of me. You learn on your own, and you like learning that way. So I think there are a lot of people, I know Wham talking about leaving Spoon. So there's a thing of kind of outgrowing. Sometimes you can expand without leaving things behind. And sometimes you have to just leave it behind. So if you can't think of something that you're in the process of outgrowing, I guess the first part of that process is identifying the places that you feel like you might need to grow. Maybe you haven't taken the first active steps yet, but you're looking around, it's like, this really doesn't suit me anymore. This doesn't really suit me anymore. Maybe I need to figure out a way to move past this. I know since I've been down in North Carolina with my family, I've managed to be in the process of outgrowing some of my clothes. Everything don't quite fit, But I know I'll go back. I'll snap back because I don't have access to all that when I get back. My diet is much more simple. I wish I could tell you what we had. Can I tell you what we had in one meal? Do y'all want to know that? Is that something that's interesting to you? I can run it down for you. So I woke up on Saturday morning and I woke up to the smell of ribs cooking on Saturday morning. And I'm talking about, I wake up, this was like 5 o'clock and I smelled the ribs cooking. So there was ribs. There were also neck bones. There was fried chicken. There was collards, yams, black eyed peas. I feel like I'm missing something. So ribs, chicken, meatloaf, meatloaf, potatoes, corn on the cob. So yeah, man. Greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, you name it, baby. It's like, why we got all these choices? So yeah, Mez is here. What's happening? It's good to see you this morning. Let's give you 7 is here with the flames in the chat. I appreciate you for that. Let me get people dressed up. I know Mez is on, probably on some up all night type situations. That's a ceremonial tie. I know you might be drifting off on us soon, but glad to have you here always. So one thing over on YouTube, Wham says, I outgrew the toxicity of a girl who I met on Spoon, who was constantly trying to get unblocked outside of Spoon. So you had like a stalker type situation. So you just had to cut it off. Well, that's a good move. Cousin Delilah is here this morning. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about what we are in the process of outgrowing. In the process of outgrowing. I think growth is it's a lifelong thing. It never stops. Hopefully, it never stops. Because when you stop growing, like what is there? It's like you start declining. So I think it's always, we are kind of built to grow and expand. And when we're not doing so, it's like, So Kalina's like, I grew out of wearing all this makeup, too much makeup, a little more subtle in my situation. Alexa says, I'm outgrowing my limitations. I've stopped relying on my cane and I walk through my pain, I hope that in the process of doing that, it is something that's working towards your healing and not something that you're just needlessly suffering through. Berlin says, there's a lot of women in here. Well, I don't know. How do you feel about that, Berlin? Or does that make you uncomfortable? It's just, I mean, in all caps, he's like. So Alexa says, my doctor says I need to walk more to strengthen the ankle. Okay, so it is a healthy thing. Mess says, I grew out of my haters. I guess you know your life is improving when you get better haters, you know? Bad Bunny is in the house. Welcome in, Bad Bunny. Let us know, what are you in the process of outgrowing? We are, I don't know, we're almost an hour into the session, and it's going pretty well this morning. If you are over watching on Facebook or YouTube, let me know how you like the new look. We got a little new overlay going on in here. You know, we're trying to do something. Trying to do a little something. Angel Hernandez, thank you so much for joining. I don't know what kind of temptation Berlin is expecting, but I mean, what you gonna do? You know you can't step out of line, because as soon as you do, you're gonna get muted. So don't even be tempted. It's not even an issue. Bad Bunny says, I like your stream. Well, Bad Bunny, I like you being here. Thank you so much for that. All right. So if we are ready, I think we can get ready to drop a heart in the chat, and we can maybe jump into the next prompt. Yeah, let's do that. Oh yeah, let's do that. Let me find out. I can't even remember what it was now. All right. So growth. Rachel's got to go. All right, Rachel. I'm so glad that you were able to stop by and hang out with us as well. It's always a pleasure to have you here. You always add sort of a lot of positivity and warmth to our situation. So I'm glad that you were able to make it. So, yeah. And enjoy the rest of your day. All right, we're going to move to the next one now. If you are ready, everybody, I've seen hearts in the chat. All right. And while we are kind of mulling this one over, we try to use the language of willingness. We try to use the language of willingness. So sometimes it's not about being able, it's about being willing. And maybe you're not able yet, but sometimes ability follows willingness. So the question is, what cycle are you willing to break? What cycle are you willing to break? So I think sometimes we are in, sometimes it feels like we're in a cycle and we're not making any progress. Sometimes it's the case that every time we go through a cycle, we get stronger. Or it just might be a repeating loop that we can't seem to break. So Med says, I'm willing to break the cycle of doubting myself. Kalina says, doubting myself, constantly crying, being depressed, the destructive behaviors of my eating disorder, Alexa says. Noble says the cycles of limitation and finality. as even the day resets. So I think that there is just something, cycles tend to be, by definition, they tend to be self-perpetuating. There's usually like some sort of triggering event or some sort of thing that happens that you respond to in sort of a knee-jerk way, and that sort of gets the ball rolling. So Matt says, I'm going to stop eating after brushing my teeth before bed. Yeah, don't do that. We don't need to eat before we eat after we brush our teeth. We doing it wrong. So I always get to the point in breaking a cycle and then ruin it, and then it's back to square one. It's like, here we go again. I think the biggest thing that perpetuates our cycles of, that we would prefer to break, a lot of it is the language that we have around it, the way that we describe it. We reattach ourselves to the cycle with language like, here we go again. And I guess, of course, you can look at the evidence in your life and your experience and say, well, it is true. I do keep doing this. But that's not the only thing that's true. So if you can discover a new thing to say rather than here we go again, or I always do this, then that might be the first step towards breaking the cycle. You can follow that. I always do this with this time I'm going to try something different. So when you notice, as soon as you notice yourself falling to, oh man, I always blank, but this time I'm going to choose to do something different. So SOK says, I'm willing to break the cycle of pursuing for security and replace it with acceptance and non-judgment. Pip says, the power of self-talk, for sure. Like, we got to be careful what we say about ourselves. That language that we use to kind of process our experience, that voice, it says things, it is filtered towards the negative experiences that we've had. It's not necessarily representing the best of us. And it's kind of reinforcing sort of an abuse that we have towards ourselves. When you feel like hatred towards yourself, you start doing things that you hate. And then you're in that cycle. And when you start loving yourself, then you start doing things that you love. And hence there is another cycle. And I think that it is important to realize that the way that we talk to ourselves, even in the midst of the mistakes that we make, the way that we talk to ourselves is evidence of the relationship that we have. And you can start turning that relationship around by noticing other possibilities. You're not trapped in what you've always done. It feels that way, but as soon as you notice that's what's happening, you got some choices to make, and it's not going to stick every time. But again, it's about the willingness. It's about we're starting with willingness, and with willingness, you can kind of build the ability, because they say I'm willing and able, right? So you start with willing, and that willing is a choice. It's like, okay, I'm willing to do that. So, oh yeah, notice Noble pointed out that reality is here. Yes, reality is here. Nice to have you here again, reality. It's been a minute since I've seen you, but I appreciate having you as a part of the conversation. King Alpha Wolf Chief has joined us. Welcome in to Morning Journal. So yeah, I think the biggest part of it is noticing, and one of the valuable parts of journaling whether it's like you're doing it here live with us in real time in conversation, or better yet, if you go just kind of sit back and listen again, or write the prompt down and come back to it, just reinforcing the positive way that you can hold the situation. Where is the win in this situation? Because you win or you learn, right? So as long as you can learn through a situation that you reflect on, then you can claim a win from it and use that win as evidence that you're bigger than this thing that you seem to be struggling with right now. So breaking the cycle starts with first noticing, and then second, maybe just changing the language that you use around it. It's not going to flip everything overnight, but it's a start. So Berlin is inquiring about my YouTube channel, and I guess while y'all are kind of mulling that over, I'll just mention what's going on over there. So honestly, Berlin, I haven't looked at my watch hours because I'm in the process of making a bunch of different changes, and I know it's going to take a little bit of time before those sort of propagate through the system. Like I have a lot of optimization to do on the stuff that's already out there. So once I get all of those changes in place, then I'll start monitoring it a little bit more closely. Quasha is here. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you had a great weekend. Let us know what you did this weekend. And you came into conversation, and anyone who's joining us now, talking about what cycle are you willing to break? We can be aspirational here. It could be something that you feel like is so entrenched that there's no way you can ever break that trap. But we're not talking about whether you can do it. We're asking if you're willing to. And there's, some amazing things happen on the other side of willingness. Just put it that way. All right. So let me know if we are ready. We can jump into the next prompt. Just go ahead and drop me a heart in the chat, and we can go and get into that. While we're thinking about that, let me just say that some of you, if this is your first time watching, listening, Morning Journal happens every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, and you can catch it live on Spoon, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. You can catch it in a lot of different places. So I'm glad that you are here now. And if you haven't already done so, just go ahead and give me a follow or a subscribe, whatever the language is for the platform that you're watching on, so that you don't miss the next one. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the next prompt, shall we? All right, here we go. For the next prompt, we're talking about retiring labels. What label would you rather retire? A lot of times we kind of get caught in other people's perceptions of us, and subconsciously, we live into those expectations when we would rather express something different. Sometimes people get it wrong about us, or maybe they got it right about us at the time, but we are not that way anymore because we have grown. So sometimes the impediments to growth or the things that keep us trapped into a cycle is an identity that we have assumed that we have outgrown, but we still, that we're trying to outgo, but we still call ourselves by that name. So it's one of the things that kind of keep us trapped. Mez says the thing that the label that you would rather retire is that Mez is an enigma. Mez says, I'm tired of being so elusive and mysterious and unseen. I'm not an enigma. I'm just Mez. Yeah, I think, at different phases of our lives, we try on different ways of being. I think, there's some natural points where that happen. When you grow up, you have your family and the people that know you from when you were born. And they have a certain expectation about how you are. It's odd. Sometimes people meet you when you were a child and they have a certain way of seeing you. And then you could be 40 years old and they still kind of think about you as you were then. Some of the same, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of past that. And then you find yourself leaning into it sometimes. It's like, yo, for real though? So SOK says, that's why I retired esoteric, because that's not necessarily kind of the way I need to show up anymore. And also I think it's important to realize we sometimes put these labels on, these masks on when we enter a new space because, we don't necessarily feel safe. We put on a certain way of being to try to fit in or to try to navigate the anxiety around experiencing a new environment. So that label is like a tool. And I think it's particularly true in online spaces because there is sort of at least some veneer of anonymity that you can maintain when you come in. You choose a new name, you choose an avatar that might not necessarily be you, but is something that's sort of representative of you. And you kind of like live action role playing a character in a space. So, and then at some point it's like, wait a minute, this seems false. I don't necessarily feel the need to protect myself here. I feel like I can be more of myself. So, yeah, we're thinking about that. Noble says, I want to retire the label of human as I don't think like a human. I'm an ancient in primary thinking and action. So that's me. So stop trying to call me a person. Stop trying to call me a human. I'm an ancient. Burley says, I don't know if I have a label. Well, I think, some people are kind of what you see is what you get. Maybe you're just that type of person is, what you see is what you get. SOK says, the label I would rather retire is broken. Yeah, don't call me broken anymore. I think sometimes the labels that we carry, we attach to them because they serve some sort of purpose for us. Or sometimes they're just like something that people try to put on us and we don't manage to wriggle out of aggressively enough. We just allow it, So retiring a label, so SOK says, oh, only I call myself that. Yeah, so definitely then you want to retire that. I guess one of the prerequisites of retiring a label is understanding what purpose it was serving. A lot of times the labels that we don't manage to retire or don't wriggle out of somehow or don't redefine, we're holding on to them because they are serving some sort of purpose for us. And once we figure out, okay, that's why I'm doing that, this is what this is giving me, then, maybe you can find another way, a more real and, I don't know, would I say, I don't even know if I would use the words real, but a more appropriate label that's more accurate of who it is that you're becoming. I think who you growing into. So, all right. If we're ready, I'm happy to go to the next prompt if we are ready. Just let me know. Drop me a heart in the chat and we can get into that. As we are thinking about that, though, I just want to say thanks everyone for hanging out. We've had a nice steady crowd, a nice conversation of folks hanging out with us this morning all over the place. I want to give a special shout out to the folks who are listening in on Spoon and who are helping manage and lead the conversation. Mez and Esso are managing right now. I didn't give Tree a tie. I don't know why. But it's like, Tree's like, I can't get a tie around here in these pieces. But Tree is here as well. Also, let's go ahead and make sure, if you haven't already done so, make sure you go and check out the Treehouse on YouTube. That's something that is definitely worth your while. The latest video is out. The episodes come out every Thursday. So that's a good thing. Berlin says, I just remember, G, I said, you making changes, right? Have some male managers. So here's the thing, Berlin. I don't choose managers based on anything other than the way that they interact, their sort of, the way that they interact and how on brand and how appropriate it is for the conversation, the longevity and length of relationship, or there's just something interesting that I think is fitting. So I know that, and not just the interaction while you're talking, not just the interactions while you are managing and greeting people, but even outside of that, even when you're just chatting, when you have that manager tag on, your chat gets noticed by people on the stream. So it might not be like the thing that you necessarily want to call attention to. You understand what I'm saying? So that is not personal. It's just that you understand. I know you get it. Because, you can have a manager tag on and then you'll just say something out the pocket. And you got a big old tag by your face. So everybody's going to see it. And we don't necessarily want that. I mean, we don't necessarily want that. You dig? We might, but probably not. Okay. So let me get ready to go. Let's get ready to go to the next prompt. I think that we said that we were ready for that. So Cookie says, hi. Hi, Cookie. Thanks for joining us. Let's get it. Let's go into the next one. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick second and I'm going to fix it. So here's the thing. Right, I just noticed as I was about to change the prompt, I noticed a egregious misspelling that is too embarrassing for me to share. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. While we're fixing that, Aunt Capone is in the building. What's happening, Aunt Capone? Thank you so much for being here. We're in between prompts right now, and I'm going to fix this egregious misspelling and then get ready to drop the next one in the chat, which is fine. We got time, baby. It's all good. Yeah, man. So I want to say, first of all, congratulations, everyone. Congratulate Aunt Capone on the victory of his Kansas City Chiefs, making the next step in their playoff run. by vanquishing the Pittsburgh Steelers last night. I know you're happy about that. Also, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure that you go hop over and follow the Aunt Capone show. Aunt Capone is back on these podcast streets, so everybody need to watch out. You dig? Okay. Mikey to Chill liked the live. Thank you so much for being here, Mikey. All right. So here we are. I think we're ready now. We're talking about retiring labels and moving forward. So this is the prompt that we're going to be working with here. What physical act will you make in the direction of your becoming? What physical act will you make in the direction of your becoming? Now, direction of your becoming, physical act. I think what the point of this prompt is that action is proof. Action provides proof. So I think at some point we want to claim a higher, a more elevated sense of ourselves. We want to claim that for ourselves. We want to affirm that as a possibility for us. But what they say, the proof is in the pudding. Action is proof. So once you start being and start taking actions in the direction of this growth that you aspire to, then it's undeniable. Once you start making it, then you're not faking it anymore. So think about something specific that you can do, a physical thing, a physical action that you can take that reaffirms or reconfirms or provides proof of your willingness and your commitment to the growth that you're capable of. Again, coming from a place of appreciation of everything that you are, is not an indictment of your value and wherever you are right now. Where you are is just where you are. It's just a location. There's no reason to judge that. But now you're in a place where you can make a specific action that moves you towards your ultimate wellness goal, health, relationship, whatever it is that you're trying to include in your expanded new experience out here. So Alexa says, the physical act would be going to all my appointments, like physical therapy and counseling, to become more healthy, not slacking on that. Not slacking on, it's like, maybe I'll do it next time. I'm going to go. And by going to these appointments and by, participating in this process of therapy and counseling, I am demonstrating how important it is for me to be well. So Kalina says, skipping school when I'm sick. Well, I don't know what that makes you become. It makes you become truant. Oh man. Mess says the physical act is staying on task. Staying on task. That is what I can do to reinforce my identity as someone who is committed to what I'm trying to create. So I will address it and I will stay on task and see it through. And by doing so, it reinforces that identity. It reinforces that willingness and commitment. So for Pip says cleaning. Our environment works on us 24/7. So I think that cleaning, taking the time to say, all right, what I have to do, like I'm important and the things that I'm working on are important. So I deserve to have a space to be in and to create in that is suited for that purpose, that gives me clarity and allows me to focus and allows me to be healthy and just feel good, my craft deserves that. My life deserves that. So let me act like, let me act like I care. Let me let this environment work on me in a good way. So Noble says, I want to take a bold statement with an important tattoo. I need to know that I really am who I am. Noble says, I'm just going to put it on my body. I'm going to put it on my body. So y'all don't get it twisted. I'm Noble Ancient. Stay strong. Welcome in, and thanks for joining us this morning. And Capone says that stretching and eating protein before work, it helps for these long stretches at work. So you know that you are committed to performing well and being able to excel in your position in a healthy way. So you want to make sure that you have your body right before you go in there. And that's going to make the experience better for you. That's going to make you more effective. And it's also probably going to help your attitude. You're not yourself when you're hungry. Can't show up at work like Joe Pesci. So Noble says the tattoo is called a crafter's emblem, and it would be on my right forearm. That's what's up. I had to look at the profile pic they were talking about. That's what's up. It's okay, just showed up on the Summer Jam screen. And so it's setting a good example of not being an enigma. Here's my face. Oh man, here's my face, no longer an enigma. Here I'm is. I think I kind of came in the game with no chance of being an enigma because I messed around and used all of my real stuff in what I call myself. So I was like, well, the jig is up. I've always been up here as me, so I got to live with that. So SOK says the physical act would be doing daily exercise, having 8 hours of sleep, and taking my vitamins and meds. Just say, yeah, I care about myself. I know that I need to be well to perform well. So being committed to that is going to make everything else in my life better. Yeah, I think that it's just so important to put it in the world in the form of action. Like when you leave here, being able to show up and and do something that says that this is who you are, this is who you're becoming. Because we could talk to each other all day, I think it's important that we always try to. Mez is like answering the box, like, oop, there's no box. Just go ahead and drop it in the chat. Put a little emoji beside it if you want to. Yeah, Tree's got it. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, Speaking of Fridays, I know that folks who are here for the morning streams, Friday is the one day per week that we do an evening stream. We do 2 evening streams on Friday, but they were exclusively on Spoon. It's called Rhythm and Muse. One of them is Rhythm and Muse, and we work with random prompts from our deck of prompts. So it's, kind of a vibe. Music is like, music is a bigger part of that, a larger part of that stream. So we kind of, it's kind of like a DJ set / stream. So, all right, I think everybody's got it now. Oh man. And then also on Friday, we have a lot of fun. And I think this is our most popular stream. Our most popular stream is the writer's room in terms of like the number of people that we get in at the same time. Writer's room is at 8 o'clock on Friday night, and the lines are open. So you can call, well, you probably can't call in. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Certain people will call in you can just, kind of sit in the chat and participate. Berlin is reaffirming and restating what he said many, many times. Writer's Room is not for me. But hey, it's all good. You don't need to, you don't have to be there. I don't expect you to come into a situation that's not for you. I appreciate the support 100%, but it's all good. There's too many women in that room, huh? Alexis is putting the affirmation, this isn't healthy for me, as they go to smoke a cigarette. Berlin is like, I just know I'm going to get out of pocket. I know I'm going to get out of pocket. I can't be in there. Hey, you got to know yourself, right? All right. So the whole point is that we are kind of physically doing some things that prove things to ourselves, because then it's undeniable. All right. So Berlin says, I wouldn't want any of the managers to kick me, and it'll probably happen. It'll probably happen, especially the trigger is a little quick on there sometimes. Somebody got kicked out for not putting the response in the box. Somebody got kicked out for typing in the chat. It's like, yo, chill, yo. I had to go and unblock the person and apologize. Like, hey, I'm sorry. They told you twice and you just kept going to the chat, and there's like, okay, hit them. Look, Berlin says, you wouldn't let that happen to me, right? Look, at some point my hands are tied. My hands are tied now. Like, if the hit comes, I can go back and unblock you, but it can't be undone. My hands are tied. They got the blicky, they got the green light. So, you can find out. All right. So let me see. I think I kind of set aside a couple minutes just to kind of chat and catch up with folks. Let me see what we got here. So I did a thing where, just a couple. Oh, that ain't it. Where's my hanging out? So this is my hanging out and chat music. I got a playlist just to hang out and chat with y'all for a little bit and catch you catch you up. Aunt Capone's. So Berlin was like, there's never any males managing the stream. I know when Aunt Capone was on here, he got the wins or not as soon as he came in the door. So, and it'll probably it's valid in perpetuity. So if he come in, he got a slot, because we go back to Tiny Tots together. So it is what it is. So let me know. I think just kind of informally, I would like to check in and find out what you guys have up, what you have planned for the weekend. Not for the weekend, for the week ahead. Let me get it right. What's on your radar for this week? Is there something that you have going on that you are excited about, that you can't wait to tell us about? I think it's important to have those things in your experience, something that you're looking forward to. So let us know. What is it? It's a Monday. We want to get out, keep our energy in the right place. And one thing that does that is having something positive to look forward to. So what is that for you? I don't know what the tater tots comments means, but it is true. You can bond over tater tots. If you so choose, you can bond over tater tots. Esso says, I'm looking forward to the rest of my classes. It's always nice. It's always cool to be, back in a learning environment. You face to face again. So, and I know, well, we about to be finished. I know that it was a little bit iffy for a while, but I'm excited for you to be back in class. So Mez is looking forward to talking to an advisor about getting an undergrad certification in illustration. Hey now. Pip says, I made my first big personal purchase a few months ago. It's a handmade coat and it's almost done. That's what's up. He got that. He got something bespoke. You got something, I need you to put me something together there from the ground up, you dig? Noble says, I'm just checking in on your week. That's all. It's not really a prompt. I just wanted to know if there was something you were looking forward to this week. Esso says, now we back on Zoom for the first 3 weeks. Yeah, I hear you. But I'm gonna go on and tell you that little upcycled garment that you shared, that was pretty adequate right there. Like, that was a good looking piece of attire. So Noble is looking forward to being done with COVID and quarantine. Getting stir crazy, gotta stay in the house. Yeah, I can dig it. I know that you must be tired of that. Big old bummer. Pandora is back. Venti is here. Welcome in. Thanks for joining Morning Journal session number 186. We're just taking a little bit of a breather, and I just wanted to see what y'all are up to this week. What's on the horizon for you? What has you excited? Maybe what's challenging for you coming up in the week ahead? Because sometimes the challenges are the very things that make us excited. Maria, welcome in. Thanks for joining us. So I guess if I was going to speak on what I'm excited about, I guess it is kind of launching Morning Journal onto Anchor, and also by doing so putting it in all the other places that it can go. Just because now I have all of my ducks in a row from a licensing standpoint, that I can share the music that I'm doing, and the sound is what it needs to be from the recording side on the video side. So I'm able to now start dropping Morning Journal on all the other podcasting platforms. So if you're listening to this replay, you might be listening to one of the first episodes that gets up there. Make sure that you check it out. I'll let y'all know what the exact details are for that. Another thing I'm looking forward to is the return of Nikki Faders. So Nikki Faders is my friend and collaborator and partner in crime with Slangsmith Radio. And we are looking for ways to bring Slangsmith Radio back out on these streets as well. Probably on Green Room. Just because we're going to be recording and doing we're probably just going to do a live version of the podcast that we already had out on all the platforms. So Nikki Faders, we talk about hip hop and culture, and we just kind of catch up on what's going on in the world. I don't typically do a lot of topical conversations in this stream, because I kind of want it to be evergreen. So whenever you find it, it's still relevant. And I know sometimes when you get into very specific topics, it's good for about a week and then nobody don't care about it no more. But it is fun to catch up on kind of what's going on in the world and in the culture. I listened to Uncle Murda's recap of 2021 yesterday that kind of ran down everything that happened in hip hop over the year. He's a genius. I can't even front the way that he sums up the entire year in a song. It's amazing. Somebody says, is Green Room still only Android to Android, Apple to Apple? No, Green Room is universal. You can check it out on any platform. But if we do it on Green Room, it'll be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those other places as well. So even if you can't go live, you'll be able to still listen in to Slangsmith Radio. It's a unique experience. I mean, it's not what you expect from me here on Morning Journal. You dig? Because it's just me talking to one of my oldest friends. I've known Nikki Faders for over 20 years. I'm not going to say well over. I've known Nikki Faders for over 20 years. So somebody who you go back with that type of history, the types of conversations that you have are different. So, I'll let y'all know. Okay. All right, we're going to get ready to go into, I guess maybe this is sort of like a kind of a closing prompt, but I guess before we do, I want to kind of recap the whole session, the journey that we've gone on so far. Everybody's asking, when is Mez going live? Yeah, Mez, when you going live, yo? I just like to hear Mez, even when Mez is on a call. Mez was on our panel on Friday night for Writers Room. Mez was on the panel reading responses. We also had Manager on the panel, which was cool. Manager is definitely OG, one of the unique voices. So it was a lot of fun to see, old friends and new friends. I know Berlin won't be there. Maybe at some point you'll be able to get it. All right. So before we get into sort of the last prompt, I just want to do a quick recap and kind of roll up what we've experienced here today, what we've been talking about today, as a way to kind of put a bow on the situation. And for anyone who might have come in late, you can know what it is we've been on about for these last hour and a half. So the title of the stream, or the theme today, is In the Direction of Your Becoming. Did I say that right? Yeah, in the direction of becoming. So we started the conversation thinking about all the things that we can appreciate about ourselves, that we've grown to appreciate about ourselves over time. Sometimes it's the things that we felt a type of way about when we were younger, but now as we are older, we recognize that that's sort of what makes us special. And we've learned to love those things, or at least appreciate those things. So starting from a place of appreciation and understanding that you can accept yourself where you are, and accepting yourself where you are is not saying that you are resigned to staying there. It's just a acknowledgement that you have value, even in the middle of all the mistakes that you've made, even in the midst of all of the imperfections, and even in the middle of the consequences that you're living in as a result of the past that you've lived. You still are valuable, even if you're living in consequence. I mean, the consequences just are what they are. They are not necessarily an indictment of you. They are just an indictment of the choices that you've made and the actions that you've taken. So the only way that you can ever transcend being stuck in what would be a cycle of repeating the actions is to start by acknowledging the value that you have, independent of those consequences that you might be living in. They are not you. They are, those are the circumstances. So starting from that point, then looking at what are the opportunities that we have to grow, whether it's something that we are actively engaged in moving beyond, we are in the process of growing into. I told you I was in the process of outgrowing my clothes, getting a little tight around the, around the waistband a little bit. I got on sweatpants because, I got to be comfy. I had to move a belt loop had to drop down a belt loop, closer to the end. But in our lives, what are we in the process of outgrowing? That is something to consider. Now, if nothing comes to mind for you now, then you have a great opportunity that you can choose a direction of your growth. You can choose something that is in your life and in your experience that you are willing to start the process of outgrowing. So, for instance, like Alexa says, good news, I promised a friend that on the 25th, I was going to talk to the doctor about quitting. So maybe you are outgrowing the use of cigarettes as, a habit that you use to, express yourself or deal with stress or whatever role that is serving for you. So that's a choice to outgrow something. And then from there, we talked about sort of those cycles. What are the hindrances to our growth are the cycles that we are trapped in. So thinking about these are the things that I always tend to do. Like, here we go again. I'm trapped in this cycle. And then coming to the understanding and the realization that there's an opportunity there in the midst of that cycle. When you recognize that this is what's happening, you can use your language, you can use your words to say something else that's true. So it's like, man, this always seems to happen. Well, there's a word in there that we can kind of challenge. It seems to happen always, but does it happen always? And is there ever a time that you didn't make this bad choice or this questionable choice? Okay, and if you can't think of one, what's stopping you from making a different choice now? What is it that you're committed to in this cycle that's holding you here? Are you willing to let that go? And then also, of course, choosing the words that we say to ourselves very carefully, like not beating ourselves over the head with the mistakes that we make. Because when you talk to yourself like somebody you hate, you end up doing things that you hate. So giving yourself a break, recognizing, that wasn't a great choice. This didn't work out as well as I hoped. So what is it now that I can choose? We also talked about retiring labels. We have people, we show up in the world, people have labels that they've put on us. We have ones that we put on ourselves that might not be a great fit for who it is that we're becoming. So we need to retire that. We call ourselves things that may not necessarily be true anymore. And just the fact that we are calling ourselves that, it gives us the sort of momentum towards making that true. We try so hard to make the things we say to ourselves true. It's like once we've said it, it's almost like we've planted a seed in our subconscious to act that way. So what is the label? What do we want to stop calling ourselves? What do we want other people to stop calling us? And then finally, the last prompt that we had was the action that you're willing to take in the direction of becoming. There's a possibility out there for us. So we've been talking about it. Now let's think about what we can do about it. Is there a very specific, concrete thing that we can do to make this new identity that we are claiming true? How can we act in the direction of what we're becoming? Not just talk about it, not just resolve, but like, what is a small thing that we can do that serves as proof to us that this is what we are actually about? So Life of Lexi, thanks so much for joining us. I realized that I forgot to give my self-manager, so I didn't see everybody that was coming in on while I've been rambling on. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time, your participation, and your presence here with us. Life of Lexi, thank you so much for the likes. I really appreciate that. All right. And Mez is gonna thank you one by one. I love that. Okay. So yeah, the actions that we can take. Now, I guess we can kind of get into sort of the last prompt of the day. Or I guess it's the last prompt of the session. Life of Lex is always so peaceful here. It is normally peaceful. Sometimes it gets a little lit, but you're right. Most of the times this is a peaceful place. I'm glad to have you. All right. Now, the last little piece of the conversation is this. What is something small you can finish and celebrate? Finish and celebrate. I think the big thing about that is there's so many things in our life and our experience that is open-ended, right? It's like so much is like always in progress. So we don't necessarily get a chance to put a bow on something and say that's done. But those small victories that we can claim, the little things that we can focus on and finish, they are like the perfect little hits of dopamine that we need to check off and say, yo, we done with that. So hold up. Astutely points out that it's not necessarily peaceful when I start freestyling, but still, it's still cool, right? So let us know, what is a small thing that you can finish and celebrate today? So Life of Lexi says, yo, I could read a book. I love it. She said, today specifically. Well, I mean, you can give yourself a page number, a page count. I can read 10 pages of a book. So Berlin says, something I could finish would be uploading a video, man. I'd be so busy. I actually surprise myself that I make time to do so. Yeah. You know, life will creep up on you, right? It's before you know it, a whole bunch of time has passed and you haven't, you know. So it's like making space for your creative projects can be difficult alongside of everything else. So Mez is going to make a quarterly goal list for 2022. See what you can get done. And then celebrate. Alexis is finishing chapter 7 of my book. Yeah. That's a big one. Berlin says it'd be cool to upload daily, especially if you get that YouTube money. So here's the thing. I know, right? It's like once that becomes your gig, then you like, well, you know, I can bear down now. I can go hard. I think a lot of times what people fail to take into account when it comes to stuff like that is your catalog. So all that stuff that's there when you do flip that switch, all them videos that you've made while you were waiting, they still can get those views and still can get that money. So Steve says, I can sit with my son and have a talk about life and then get ready to create some content. There you go, Steve. So Steve is the host of the Hold Up TV. I listened into Steve, DaVinci and Steve present. They have very thought-provoking commentary on very serious issues, at least in the case of last night. I don't know how many of you know DaVinci, who is a choice streamer here on Spoon. Steve and DaVinci have a show together. They were on Green Room last night talking about, kind of heavy stuff, you know, how to deal with abuse and, you know, the interaction between the abuser and abused and how it plays out from a rehabilitation standpoint. So yeah, for sure. But Steve is also the host of the Request Box Live, which ain't heavy. And also Conversations That Matter, which are available on Green Room. Conversations That Matter is 8 o'clock Eastern time on Green Room and YouTube often. Depending on the guests, I'm not sure if they're all going to be on YouTube going forward, but make sure you check out Steve. Also, tomorrow is the Gamer Shop. I guess I'll let y'all know about that. 6 o'clock with Noble Ancient. I hope that you are physically up to it. So we can hear about those tabletop games. So Noble says, I can create a Cinder set for random dungeon to get out to Kalina to transform. That is your small thing that you can finish and celebrate. I love that. And I guess it's important too, where it's appropriate, how would you celebrate that thing that you finish? How would you celebrate? So everyone, go ahead and real quick, green hearts in the chat. Green hearts in the chat. Mom is finally arisen. I don't know. Maybe she's been up for a while. She just said hi. So green hearts in the chat for my mom listening in. So the small thing that you can finish and celebrate. Small thing in the midst of all the open loops that we experience in our life. I think it's valuable to have a small thing that to have some things that we can put a bow on and say, okay, I've done this, and I can tally this with my wins for today. So Berlin says, I've been meaning to ask, is my advice of any use on Discord? Yeah, Berlin, it's valuable. I think a lot of it, what I've read through are just kind of helpful reminders. So it's always great to, because there's also so many little details that go along with building a successful channel. So even if it's something that I've seen before, it's helpful to see it again and be reminded of it as I go about creating things. So yeah, I definitely appreciate it. All right. So let's think about it. We're talking about the wins that we can claim, and also how can we celebrate? What is something that you can do to celebrate? Sometimes a celebration can be simple. It can be just like, give yourself a little fist pump, like, yeah, did it. You don't have to go and break your whole New Year's resolution and eat a bunch of cake to celebrate. Just a little fist pump, like, yeah, I did it. Be like Mary Catherine Gallagher in the movie Superstar, and just have do that little dance, like, yeah. I think it's not about the little reward or the treat. It's about the acknowledgement. So if you can do something symbolic, physical, to just shift your emotional state to acknowledge what it is that you've done, that's all that it takes. So, just do a little fist pump. I know it sounds silly, right? But it works. Maybe just drop a ad lib, anything to kind of pump yourself up to acknowledge what it is that you do is worthwhile. So Berlin's got some old time hooch. Gonna drink to celebrate. See, sometimes the ways that we celebrate kind of break our momentum. So like unless that one thing that you're gonna finish is the last thing that you are gonna do today, maybe you don't want to celebrate in a way that's going to decrease your capacity. Like if you celebrate with a big meal, then that big meal might end up being followed by a big old nap. And maybe that's not the vibe that you were going for. I mean, I don't know. So the point is to celebrate, just to shift your emotional state in acknowledgement of your achievement. So Alexa says, I'm going to print off the chapter and ceremoniously hand them over to Noble, and also update my stats to show that it's done. Yes. Print it off. Hand it over. So Mez says, I'm going to see Tool in Phoenix on Friday, celebrating that experience all week. So it's Tool week. It's Tool week for Mez. Gonna be revisiting the catalog and listening to all the stuff and auditioning different outfits and figuring out, there you go. Get back in the mood. Nesquik has returned. Let us know something small that you can finish and celebrate as we get ready to wrap it on up. Put a bow on it. Yeah, the one thing that I'm missing is I had this small screen that I have to run my music through, so there's some breaks in the music as I find it. But it's good. I know y'all hear that, and you know what it means. So Nesquik says, probably my incomplete art pieces. You can finish one of those. Yeah, we are finishing up 186. Morning Journal 186 is coming to a close. And tomorrow is 187. 187. We're going to kill it tomorrow. You dig? Call them folks. Let them know. This has been Morning Journal session number 186. I am your host, G, and I really appreciate everyone for hanging out with me and participating in the conversation and riding with me as we grow and make little subtle changes to this experience to make it valuable. I encourage you to go ahead and give us a follow. If you're not following us on the platform where you're watching, what you doing? Go ahead and follow us. If you didn't like this, if you're on YouTube and you didn't drop a like, what you doing? Go ahead and drop a like, yo. And then if you want to check it out later, the replay will be available later with timestamps. And you can feel free to answer the prompts in the comments on YouTube. So that's definitely a thing. So shout out to all the folks. We got Tree, SOK, Mawia, Berlin, Kalina, Noble Ancient, Alexis Autumn Elf, The Hold Up TV, Pandora, Quasha, Warrior, Nesquik, Mesquik, Life of Lexi. Thank you all very much for being here.